band because they make us happy. East Side Torpedoes make me happy, and that's the main reason I come. Not because of drinking, not because I'm into dancing, but because East Side Torpedoes are a band that make me happy.
I mean, 9 people, there's no way we can make any money out of it, but I don't know why we do it, probably just the enjoyment we get out of it, that's all.
This is probably the most successful and certainly the biggest group working in the North East at the moment. The East Side Torpedoes have been going for 4 years now, and it's only in the past 12 months that they've become commercially popular. Well, tonight we're going to look at how that happened through the eyes of the band members, their fans, their backup team, which includes the legendary ex-Animal Chaz Chandler, and above all through their music. But we're also looking at whether big in the North East means a passport to stardom or oblivion.
Carting a 9-piece band around the country is very expensive compared to the more usual 4-piece. Extra transport, extra roadies, extra stage area, extra amplification all tend to make performing a labour of love. There's certainly very little money in it. So far the Torpedoes have stuck fairly closely to the North East, but that may have to change fairly soon. Interest in the band is beginning to stretch beyond the North East. Ex-Animal Chaz Chandler has just recorded the band's first LP at his studios in London.
First time I saw the East Side Torpedoes was at the People's Theatre in the Haymarket in Newcastle. I'd been told about them because an old friend of mine was playing in the band, and a mutual acquaintance had told me about them, so I went down to see them down there and had a great afternoon watching them. The band in general are all extremely good musicians. They play very tight together, good vocal. You know, it's a very good visual thing they've got as well. All the way around, they're very good and exciting.
He got 6 months and lost 25 pounds. Driving home, and he got money on the steps to the telephone. He phoned to say, I ran out of gas on the motorway, I ran out of luck, I want to stay away, I ran out of time, time after time. He got home and pushed his weight around. We got sick of him just putting us down. And now she said he was meant for all the waste of time. And we said that's his fault. He said no way can all this mess be mine, because you see I lost my teeth and my embouchure. I lost my touch with such a kind. I'm running out of time, time after time. About these days, with his awkward, bad-tempered ways, maybe if we spend some time, help him get back out of line. But it's too late now, you can't get a break now, you can't go back.
Most of the band have part-time jobs. Youth employment in concert is the starting point for a scheme in which guitarist Steve Hall is involved.
10-15 years ago, you could walk around concert, as I did, and there'd be 3-4 places on a Friday and Saturday night where there'd be live bands performing. The situation's changed so much over the last 10 years. The clubs have a monopoly on live gigs. And of course kids can't get into clubs until they're over 18. So between the ages of 14 and 18, the exposure to live music is very, very limited. And the agents only send bands out that have proved themselves, again, which creates a catch-22 situation. So young bands aren't, they don't get the practice, they don't get the opportunity to play in front of a live audience and learn the trade.
Delves Lane Miners Hall hasn't seen any pitmen for a good many years. Nowadays it's used by the local kids as a gymnasium, or just as a place to work off some of the tensions of being on the dole. Some of them could be there for life, and it's against this background that Steve and a friend are trying to set up a music workshop.
The basic idea behind the music workshop is to give unemployed kids in concert a chance to use equipment that they couldn't possibly afford under normal circumstances. To create a sort of headquarters for them where they can all meet, where they can play together, where they can learn various aspects of the music business, which they would need to gain entrance into the music business at a sort of ground level. Kids aren't learning how to play. If kids don't have an opportunity to get together and get their ideas together and to do something musically, then the actual lifeblood of the music business is going to dry up, which is, I think, is what is happening.
With unemployment standing at over 30%, concert can use all the help it can get. Steve Hall's political feelings are reflected in his work and in some of his songwriting.
East End and West End is a political song which I wrote a few years ago about the destruction of city centres. It's always seemed to me that the community isn't involved in any discussion about where they're going to live, how they're going to live, what sort of buildings they're going to live in.
New York Times, Town Bridge Lighter, Civic Center Blue. All done, follow the people just to give them something new. Clean up schools and old age churches, try their very best. Bring the halls and cheap day stalls, put them to the test. Talk about East End, West End, the West End, where we turn to. North and South and right and dead end, what viaducts and motorways, tear that way through town. The planners live in Power Rock Place and try to pull our houses down. The old man on the corner ever seen the rise and fall. I call it mustard to the dust at a local county hall. Talk about East End, West End, the West End, where we turn to. North and South and right and dead end,
Asked out by Ian Carr to go and play with the Mighty Joe Young Band. Memorable occasion. I think that was my first public appearance. That led to my playing more frequently locally, and I joined the what later became the Animals. But I had educational obligations to fulfill, completed a rather indifferent degree. But I did continue with music after leaving university, and I went to London and played down there for 2 years. I'd always imagined when I got myself involved with architecture, I've never actually stopped playing music. Obviously there have been times when I've played it more than at other times, and at the present time it's quite a large commitment. One would have to think sort of seriously if the group ever had to follow the usual sort of travelling routine that I had to go through back in the 60s. But I don't think I'd really be interested in chasing around on concert tours in that sort of manner in any event, personally. And I think that would probably apply to other members of the group.
It's a very hard decision to make for a band whether they should move out of their home area, especially a band, a 9-piece band like the Torpedoes. The economics of the business being what it is, they've got a much greater disadvantage than any other, than smaller groups. It's not a question if you've got 9 people in opposed to 4 people in a band. It's not like double the expense. Somehow it seems to be 10 times the expense once you get over 5 people in a band. And to make it economically viable is tremendously difficult. And I think they have to think very hard before they start really travelling far afield or even contemplating leaving Newcastle altogether.
The Torpedoes' local following rivals that of Newcastle United. This is F Troop in action. Their value to the band is immeasurable, and their influence stretches beyond merely getting the Torpedoes to play yet another encore.
If we play somewhere and they're not there, then we've got to really work at trying to get the other people, because they're just as important, to come up and get in the same sort of mood that F Troop get in as soon as they come along. So it's but they've helped us to get that feel, so we know what numbers are going to work and what numbers won't work. So we use these numbers to pull it out of the audience, and up to now, touch wood, it's worked.
When this world starts to get me, no, I'm not. I'm gonna let it depress me. Comb my hair, put my good shoes on. Tonight we're gonna have some fun. Girl, we can get right.
get an idea from something. A lot of just like the hook lines are just catchphrases or whatever that you hear people using. You say that's a good line. I'll remember that and use it in a song. There's songs about people that I know, about things that have maybe happened to me, or people. They're just about. Well, I like to think they're about reality. I've always been very interested in B.B. King, Bobby Bland, and he's always used a big horn section, and that was really the reason. I've always wanted. I'd sung in a band previous a few years ago with a horn section and loved it, because I mean horns really can lift a number, and especially these numbers. And it was it was just an idea I'd had for a long time, and we gradually introduced the horns. Started off with trumpet and alto, and then Terry O'Hearn came in, the trombone player, and it just went from there.
People have said, when do they turn professional, i.e. when do they get to the point where their bread and butter, their living comes out of the band? That is very difficult to predict, mainly because it's a 9-piece band. People enjoy music, they don't differentiate between a 5-piece, a 4-piece or a 9-piece. It's going to take that much longer for them to be able to make their bread and butter out of it. One of the things about the audience at the moment is that the audience is expecting them to move. That is one of the things that makes them interested in the band. So if there was no movement after, say, a year, I reckon, you know, it would all tail off. But I think that's all in the pipeline. It's all happening.
The group up to date. F Troop, of course, know where the Torpedoes are going. Onwards and upwards. They're a very persuasive fan club. Well, now for our final live number this evening, Can't Get Next to You. I'll see you next week. Meanwhile, in just a minute, we'll give you a list of forthcoming events in the region. So stand by with pencil and paper. Good night.
I can get a ship to sail on a dry land. I'm a happy man with the power I possess. But you're the key to my happiness, and I can't get next to you, babe. I can't get next to you. I can't get next to you, babe. I can't get next to you. I can't get next to you, babe. I can't get next to you. I can't get next to you, babe. I just can't get next to you. I just can't get over this snot string. You, babe. Thank you.